So
pretty good on that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how old you are?
My birth name is Jonathan Kane. I'm 23. I'm from Columbia, Missouri, and started producing close to 2 years ago, and now I'm playing shows. And so that's pretty much it in a nutshell, I guess.
You've been with Infected on this whole tour?
Most of it, yes. And so we did a couple dates in the Northeast. We played New York City, or Brooklyn rather, and then we played.
Was that Brooklyn Bowl?
Yes. And then we played Philly 2 nights later, and then we played Baltimore, and then there was like a little bit of a break, and so, and then this is the first date on the kind of Florida.
Yeah, you got a nice Florida tour going on.
Yeah, it's Orlando, and then Tampa tomorrow night, and then Pompano Beach. So.
Also, how much longer is the tour going for?
Just 2 more days. And so, and they've got a couple shows they added actually, in I think Denver and like Salt Lake City. I think there's one other maybe. So I'm not on those dates though, but it's good. I'm glad to be home though. So nice.
Definitely. What's the scene like back home?
What's up?
The scene like back home for you guys?
It's
the hometown tour.
Only starting to bud actually. When I first started doing this stuff, there really wasn't much in terms of like a electronic music scene really whatsoever. But like lately, there's been some like budding kind of tech house producers. I've got a couple friends that do that, and then we've actually had we had Major Lazer come through. We had Excision. We had Big Gigantic, Mimosa. So and I have kind of a tie with the promoter, or not promoter, but the head of the venue there, and so he kind of throws me on the show sometimes. So it's really awesome.
Awesome. What are the big influences that got you into DJing or producing? Where you are now?
I've always been a fan of metal. I really like Between the Buried and Me. I really like kind of techno.
Yes.
I love this job. I get to know these guys.
yeah, no,
they're not spitting
next thing
their
you know, it's
music.
gonna be like bleeding through, darkest hour, hates the day.
Music,
Like,
we know what you're thinking deep down. You want to do something horrible.
I used to play in like that kind of music, like not really that kind. It was more like post-hardcore. Like I don't know if you heard like a lot of Spewed, Touche Amore, stuff like that. But
Opeth guy.
kind of more the melodic side of like, but still angry at times. I was in a band like that, and we actually broke up about a year and a half ago. And I remember always, and even throughout that time, I always wanted to make kind of poppier music. And my like huge albums for me were Discovery by Daft Punk and Cross by Justice. And I was just like, I love these records.
you know, Justice is one of the guys for Daft Punk. Not a lot of people know that.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure about that one.
They have the same like first and middle names, but the last name's different.
No, it's
Sorry,
it's the first and last name is the same, but like from what I understand, I'm pretty sure about this one. I can't clarify it and like definitely say for sure, but I'd say I'm about like 85% sure that it is the same guy.
I think Daft Punk's a lot older than those guys is the thing, because they've been around since like 90.
They've been around a while, but like this is just like little odd and tidbits that I've been found out, and I did an interview with him not too long ago, and during that I was like, "Are you one of the guys from Daft Punk?" And he's just like, so I don't know what that meant, but you know, maybe.
As far as the band, you said broke up. Was that around when you took this DJ project there?
Exactly, actually.
Nice.
Pretty much right into it. I really.
Sorry, was it lurking there before a little bit? Like you wanted to do it even while you were in the band? I'm just trying to feel that out.
I don't know if it necessarily like electro house was really like what was in my head at the time, but definitely I wanted to do something electronic, and we started having dance parties in Columbia around that time. Like they were just small like little dive bars that would have like DJ nights, and I remember being like, "Oh, that was so fun! Like I want to do that." And at the time, I actually was ignorant enough to where I didn't understand that there were DJs and producers. I didn't know that was a difference, and so I assumed that these guys are like making their own stuff because I'd never heard any of it before. And so I was like, I gotta make my own songs. So I can play them here. And then far too late into the game, I realized that I was completely mistaken. But I already had fallen in love with producing, so I just went with it. And then just kind of I was unemployed at the time, and basically spent 3 months in my room and kind of through YouTube and forums and that sort of thing.
That's how you broke out with YouTube?
I didn't put my stuff on YouTube, but through there were a lot of tutorials on YouTube.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, through SoundCloud actually was how I got kind of viral, I guess. And a buddy of mine ran a music blog actually, and I made one of the very first songs I'd ever produced was a remix of 1901 by And so, yeah, and then I was just like, wow, I love doing this, and it's starting to kind of like, people like it too, so I just kept at it.
So it went from SoundCloud from you starting to go to new gigs and messing around the room to where you are down here in Florida?
Basically, yeah, it was all in the basement for a while, and then I was playing a couple shows at this little dive bar. I had a dance party that my friends DJ'd at, and they let me have like an hour slot every once in a while. So it's kind of my practice, I guess. And at the time, I didn't even have a controller, so I mapped a Novation Launchpad and an audio trigger finger to work with a Tractor, because that was what my friends were using, and I didn't know anything about the software at the time. And so I was like, I want to use Tractor, but I don't know how.
That's crazy that you can figure out how to map it, but you didn't know anything about the software or anything like that. Just like, I guess you just knew about MIDI mapping and shit like that.
I just, like, through the internet, was just
okay.
Piece by piece, piecing it together.
Literally knew nothing about any of this stuff when I started, like, and so just kind of hours and hours and hours and no sleep, and so yeah, I mapped out this stuff, and it was an extremely convoluted setup. It was horrible, but and I started, like, everybody was like going nuts, and I was like, this is awesome, I want to do this, and so I did it, and then ended up saving enough money to buy a controller, and then at the time my friend was an intern at the like bigger venue in Columbia, and he was like, hey, I can get you on this Major Lazer show. This was like when I was still learning how to DJ, and so I was like, sure, which I don't regret that decision, but I was ill prepared, and so I spent the next like 3 weeks just like constantly like perfecting everything I possibly could in time, and I remember being like so shaky that by the end of the show that I actually broke my headphones at the time because I was trying to take them off, and so yeah, so I got to play with Major Lazer, and then I got to play a couple other big shows in Columbia, and then actually I'm pretty sure Infected found out about me through the Zed had a remix contest of me and for Spectrum, and I remember entering it, and on a whim, just I'm still nobody, but I remember going to bed that night after I had submitted it, and when I woke up the next day, it was the top played submission out of several, like over 1,000. It's just like, why? That's awesome, but why? Like, and yeah, and then Zed ended up picking it, and then that was amazing, and just absolutely mind blowing. And then pretty much shortly after, they got in contact with my management, and here I am. So
that's quite awesome. What are the plans after the tour? You said it's over in 3 days.
It's over in 3 days. Flying home. I'm gonna work. I got 2 new remixes that I'm working on right now. Well, one's done. The other one's pretty much done. I've got a couple originals. I'm thinking about releasing maybe an EP. I'm not sure yet. I'm too early to tell. And yeah, just basically try to bang out as many songs as I can, and then play a few shows in between. Not really tour at all, but and then see where that goes.
Now have you got to the point where you were one of these big icons in like the EDM scene, like Infected, Armin, you get to that level, production value I want to talk about. What is your take on like, what kind of production do you want? Do you want high like visual production, kind of less on the visual aspect? Like what would you think, if you had an overall choice of like,
if I had my choice, I definitely wouldn't go like too over the top with it. I don't want it to be so extravagant that takes away from the actual music of the show or anything like that. I definitely think some sort of light show. I haven't really given it too much thought, unfortunately. Only recently did that become like an idea, and so. But I mean, as of right now, I think just kind of like, how they have those like video screens in front, like in back,
projector mapping,
and then use that, but like, or it's more like a light board, I think.
Oh, the light, your LEDs.
Yeah, but they have like visuals on them, and so something like that probably at least.
Oh, you're talking about an LED screen.
Kind of things that
Yeah, they have them like like a lot of festivals that use them. So
I know what you're talking about.
Probably something like that.
LED trying to show.
But yeah, like definitely. I don't know what I would put on them yet, but probably something, I don't know. My first impulse is to say like Galaga, like behind me. I don't know why, but so I think that'd be kind of neat.
Just like throw up some retro video game
just like
images.
Super Dodgeball, like Twin Cobra, like
Pac-Man,
old, like 89
Galaga.
NES games.
That'd be pretty dope, actually.
Definitely gotta mention, man, that was a fucking killer opening, man.
Thank you so much.
I think everybody like woke up. Everybody had their coming into this. They were at work. They were at school earlier today. that flipped everybody's mind. That flipped into a total. It's bombing out there.
Yeah.
I got some sick pictures from the side. Wow.
Awesome. No, it was a great. Like I had so much fun, and so yeah.
Do you have a studio at home? Like, what's that look like? What kind of gear do you use?
My only very recently actually did I get legitimate equipment. I mean, I don't soundproof my room or anything. Everything's in my bedroom. And so I have. I used to produce everything up until. Actually, everything released currently has been produced on a pair of $30 Altec Lansing speakers.
Wow.
Everything. Everything up until this point. And then I would use my car stereo, which is a stock stereo, to cross-reference. And yeah, so only recently did I get some, like, I got some KRK Rocket 5s. And I was also using this, like, broken, like, $25 Walmart laptop stand. And so I finally got, like, a desk and, like, stuff like that.
You should check out Tannoy, the KRKs. When you're doing your vocal work on them, they're gonna sound pretty muffled in your overall vocal work.
Yeah.
Now the KRKs are gonna have a much better flat response when you're buying your studio monitors. You're looking for a flat response, and those will give you your vocals a lot cleaner, crisper sound overall on them.
Duly noted. Thank you. There's actually one of mine crapped out, so I'm looking at
Yeah, Tannoys. They're about like you can get the I think the 8s for like $300 a pop. They're really, really good though.
Yeah.
Like our school, Full Sail, most of the rooms have Tannoys in it, and that's like an audio engineer professional school that's been around for years. So yeah.
How old did you say you were?
23.
Family school if you being out on the road?
I'm sorry?
Family school if you being out on the road?
No, it's definitely not his thing. He's a guitarist and he plays like in, he kind of does like dad rock and that sort of stuff and stuff. But he's definitely super proud about it. My mom is an absolute worrywart, and so she's constantly thinking I'm dead, like if I don't call her.
But you're on tour to make the mushroom. You're safe.
Yeah.
You know, they ain't gonna leave without you. They ain't gonna leave you at a gas
bodyguards.
station on the side. Like, oh,
I thought he was gonna say my parents don't know about toy. Like that's where I thought you were going with that. I was like, what?
You omit that from me because they're gonna read this, and so they don't know.
love it, man.
She's
My
absolutely
parents don't know here either. If I was here, I don't even want to know that.
No, like they're both very proud, and so because I mean, like I said, my dad's a musician, so he's all proud dad with me, even though it's not his like cup of tea. But yeah, so I mean, the overall response is good. My mom once said, "Why can't you be a normal genius and play the piano?" And so that was really the only reception I got from her about my songs.
I feel you on that one, can relate, because
Big fan of the scientist. Oh, sorry, you're saying.
my parents for years they didn't understand why I do some of the things I do, and me personally I do lighting design and visuals, so it's like it's what I am. I'm not really an audio guy, like I'm learning that side now, but like visuals are my thing, and my parents for years are like, why can't you be a doctor like everybody else in the family? Why you gotta play with light? Like what you're never gonna do anything with that. I'm like, alright, sure.
I'm a big fan of this scientist. His name is Dr. Mikhail Kaku. And he talks about the future of the aliens. Like, if we do find aliens, what kind of race they are, type 1, type 2. Anyways, he was a young kid and he wanted to build an atom smasher. So he asked his mom if I could build an atom smasher in the garage. Sure enough, she started letting him do it. She was like, what is my kid doing? Whatever. He ends up blowing the electricity for the entire block. She's like, why couldn't you be a normal kid? But meanwhile, this guy is like one of the most brilliant people in the world, but still like making a piano. Like, why can't you be this? Why can't you be that? Like, it's really about what's inside, huh? You know?
Yeah.
All that really matters is
People
that your
definitely
parents.
understand you, man. You got a whole room in there that we're vibing to you. Right?
Exactly. All that really matters is that you're happy. Fuck it.
I was gonna say,
Everything
yeah.
else in life is just.
I used to work in a law firm actually up until about 3 months ago, and
Okay. Here's my take on artists. This is what I found, that a lot of big name artists, their normal job before they like went on tour and everything, were either law firms or accountants.
Yeah.
And I don't understand where it comes in, like where accounting and law firm comes into like being an electronic music artist, but apparently it's like one of the things. Like,
yeah, I mean, in a way, they were like, when I was first starting to release singles, they were kind of my unofficial managers. Because I would be like, hey, James, look over this contract. Does this look not shady? Cool. All right, thank you. And then, yeah, so that was awesome. I actually didn't get that job for the purpose of that, though. Like, it just kind of like happened like that. So I was like, oh, this is a nice perk. Like,
no.
But yeah.
You were in the metal band when you were working in the law firm?
No, actually, that was afterwards. And so I was actually unemployed when I was in that band, and so I that was when I took all this time to kind of like look up YouTube tutorials and DJ Tech Tools forums.
What software do you use for producing?
Producing Ableton Live. So yeah, that's my jam. It's awesome. I love it.
I really wish they'd come out with a bridge for the Ableton and Tractor like Serato has, because like I'm a big Tractor fan.
Yeah.
I just like the layout better and the feel to
That's
that.
right, yeah.
And I like the EQs in it, I like the effects in it better than Serato. But Serato's got that bridge, and like you could do like crazy shit with Ableton, and it's just I really wish a Tractor would come out with it too.
I've heard of it. I've not actually really done enough
Basically, all that
research.
happens is a small little clip window shows up inside of Serato. So
Oh, wow.
It's like in there, and you can actually make the playback cursor show up on the record, so that when you're playing your loop, you can still control like where it drops.
Okay.
So it's like you're actually vinyling your Ableton Live set.
Wow.
And
Okay.
seeing it, you can still use the APC.
Yeah.
You see the visual feedback, and it's just like a little Ableton inside Serato. It's quite awesome.
It's like PAing while DJing at the same time.
Yeah. Tractor.
It's so convenient when you have something in the same program. You know, not two screens. It's like one deck, two deck, Ableton.
Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah. Tractor's got the remix decks now and stuff like that. So they're kind of starting to sort of
They're
catch up.
just starting to catch up now,
Yeah.
but like they've been kind of like a little bit behind on that because
Well,
they used to
yeah.
not be able to do it.
They both have their advantages, and so yeah, it's definitely. I think it's based. I really would base the choice off what peripheral I use. Like so, like if you're a controller DJ, I'd say go with Tractor. If you're, doing vinyl, like why not Serato?
Yeah.
The Tractor Scratch is also really good too, and so.
So is Record Box pretty good with the
Yeah, I've never actually. I come from a town where CDJs are. Oh, I've actually never seen a CDJ up until this show in Brooklyn Bowl.
Oh, wow.
That was one of the reasons I went with controller actually, and so yeah.
Well, most artists would recommend a controller these days.
Yeah. Based on like how I mix, I like the controller better. I use a lot of cues, like.
And you're a producer, so like
Right.
it doesn't.
I find more producers use Tractor,
Yeah.
and more DJs like use Serato, and that's the difference in the whole like this or that. Like I feel like all your big heavy producers are using the Tractor because it's more familiar, it hits closer to home, I guess, so to speak.
It's also, to me at least, it's more fun to look at.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I like the way it looks. Like I get the color visuals.
all color, yeah.
I was like I look at Serato and I'm like, yeah, this is
Actually,
cool for a couple minutes.
The M Machine was on a couple of these dates, and so I don't know if you're familiar. They're on Elsa.
Okay.
And they actually use Ableton Live to DJ with as well. And
So they're doing a PA set, or is it they're just like queuing up things? Like I don't know,
I honestly have no idea.
because what it is with Ableton, you can do PA, which is like your live producing,
Yeah.
and
Okay,
throwing
yeah, this one's
throwing
not.
your tracks in and live producing on top of that, and then there's like just putting your songs in Ableton and then pressing play, and then like it automatically syncs, so it's kind of like not really a DJ, but at the same time it is.
Well, the way their setup worked, at least from what I could tell, was they had some way of they made it to where they had like groups of keyed songs in various BPMs, and they had it to where it could adjust like the BPM. Which
I
is
got
really
you.
awesome.
I got
So,
you.
but they were actually mixing. They were actually doing
Okay.
So it was actually a very like they weren't just being like.
No, but like I see a lot of people's like starting off now doing that, and I'm like, it's like if you're starting off doing it the wrong way, you're never gonna end up going anywhere with it.
I mean, I consider like how I DJ to be, I guess in all technicality, less work than someone who uses CDJs. But I feel like that frees up enough times where I can do other things. As well.
Exactly. That's the thing with tractors, because there's, yes, it's a little bit like everything's right in place, but like you could chop up and remix something on the fly.
Yeah.
How can I do that with CDJs?
Yeah.
Like, so
Unless
it's,
you got 4 decks and you're amazing.
exactly, but I'm not
If you're
amazing.
way back Luke, you could do it.
Yeah.
So,
But yep. You have any other questions?
Anything you want to give out to people before we wrap this up?
come see me in Florida.
Yeah.